They are at the moment facing a real crisis. Meghan and Harry's crisis, completely of their own making, is they have no major projects, no major money earners. And so they're more desperate than ever.
The implosion of the Sussexes. Meghan Markle's Archwell charity scam and as ever lies have finally been exposed, and an astonishing double blow for the fake Duchess.
She is hoping that she's going to become a billionaire off all of this, which again is total insanity. I think the woman's expectations are so unrealistic.
Well, absolutely, but don't even believe that there were 5 options. What you really saw were Harry's and Meghan's fantasy narrative, which they call the truth.
Stop everything for a second, because what investigative author Tom Bower has uncovered about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry in 2026 is not the glamorous royal fairy tale their PR team wants you to believe. Behind the headlines, behind the perfectly curated Instagram posts and polished interviews, a very different story is unfolding. A story about collapsing deals, a story about disappearing money, and a story about a media empire that may never have truly existed in the first place. Because right now, according to multiple financial reports and industry insiders, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are facing a crisis unlike anything they've experienced since leaving the royal family. Before you go, something at the end might just change the way you see this. If you're enjoying the video, please consider subscribing. It's completely free and it genuinely helps us create.
Their problem is that they've got no future. I mean, as ever, all her products, of course, is a complete disaster. She's got no Netflix series. She hasn't got any project at all. And they are literally wallowing in a maze where to go. It's and so predictable.
More of what you love. Stay with us till the end. You won't want to miss this. No major new projects, no guaranteed streaming deals, and a lifestyle that reportedly costs tens of millions of dollars every year to maintain. But this story doesn't just start with money. It starts with something far more revealing. Tom Bower, the journalist who spent years investigating Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, says what we're witnessing now is something he predicted long ago, a slow collapse, a collision between massive ambition and unforgiving reality. And when you begin to examine the numbers, the partnerships, and the decisions that led to this moment, the picture becomes even more shocking.
There's been leaked financial details from the Archwell Foundation that's quite fascinating because it shows that there's 2 donors who've given one of them 15 million and one 3 million.
Because the empire Meghan Markle imagined for herself by 2026 may now be crumbling in real time. Let's begin with the foundation that was supposed to represent their humanitarian mission to the world, the Archwell Foundation. When Meghan and Harry launched Archwell in 2020, the message was powerful: compassion, service, global impact. They positioned themselves as modern philanthropists, ready to reshape charity work and humanitarian leadership for a new generation. At least, that was the vision presented to the public. But according to financial filings and investigations cited by Tom Bower, the numbers behind the foundation tell a very different story. In 2021, Archwell received around $13 million in donations. That looked impressive. For a moment, it seemed like the Sussex brand was unstoppable. But the momentum didn't last. By 2023, donations dropped dramatically, and by 2024, they reportedly fell to just over $2 million. At the same time, the foundation's expenses were more than double that amount. According to publicly filed documents, Archwell spent over $5 million that year. And here's where things become even more controversial. Only about $1.25 million of that money actually went to charitable grants. The rest was consumed by administrative costs, salaries, travel expenses, security, and operational overhead. Security alone reportedly costs the couple around $2 million every year. Now, technically, there's nothing illegal about wealthy foundations having large administrative costs. Many organizations operate that way.
Years ago, we were talking about Meghan Markle running for president. And what a decline, how irrelevant they've become today. Do the Sussexes still pose an institutional risk, or are they now culturally sidelined?
I mean, an institutional risk to the British monarchy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. A huge risk.
Really?
Absolutely. Because there's no doubt as they become more desperate.
But critics argued the scale of spending compared to charitable output raises serious questions about priorities. And those questions became louder when California authorities issued a delinquency notice against Archwell. The notice indicated that required paperwork had not been filed correctly, which meant temporarily the organization was not allowed to raise or distribute charitable funds. For a foundation claiming to represent global humanitarian values, that kind of administrative failure raised eyebrows. But Archwell wasn't the only area where things began to unravel, because while the charity was losing momentum, Meghan Markle was attempting something else, something much bigger, a lifestyle empire. The brand was called As Ever, and when it launched, the headlines were explosive. Meghan Markle's jam sells out in minutes. Royal lifestyle brand breaks the internet.
Want to get into the details of this, Brittany, because the details here matter, given that everything Harry and Meghan do is topspin, trying to convince the world, and very often the mainstream media are sucked in, that everything's okay, but it's really not. And the first revelation in regards to Archwell is that the charity is down to just 2 staffers.
It sounded like the beginning of the next Martha Stewart-style empire, but according to Tom Bauer and industry sources, the reality behind the launch may have been very different. The initial sellout that generated global headlines may have involved only a few hundred units, just enough inventory to create the illusion of overwhelming demand. And once the hype cycle began, larger production orders were reportedly placed, massive ones. According to reports circulating among retail analysts, Meghan's brand could now be sitting on as much as $23 million worth of unsold inventory. That includes over 100,000 fruit spread gift boxes, tens of thousands of candles, and thousands more specialty food products, many of which are perishable. One analysis suggested if current sales levels continued, it could take nearly 9 years to clear the inventory. 9 years for products that expire. That's not just a marketing problem, that's a logistics nightmare. And it highlights a pattern that Tom Bauer has been pointing out for years. He claims Meghan Markle's projects often begin with enormous publicity, but struggle to convert that attention into long-term audience loyalty. Which brings us to the partnership that was supposed to change everything: Netflix. When Meghan and Harry signed their reported $100 million deal with Netflix, the announcement shook the entertainment industry.
I believe it is clear exposure of what Archwell really is. A PR project, nothing more. It's disgusting.
It really is, Dan. And one of the things is that Harry and Meghan have always said service is universal. They're going to be doing charity in the States and all these things. And it's just completely and utterly false. It was just a lie from the very face of it. And we've seen this endlessly. Meghan praises herself constantly for being this great humanitarian. But when you really think about it, what has she done? I mean, even before she married Harry, she was part of World Vision.
The couple were supposed to become global content creators. Documentaries, series, lifestyle programming, Hollywood influence. It looked like the beginning of a media dynasty. But according to Bauer's reporting, the internal reaction at Netflix was far less enthusiastic over time. Streaming platforms rely on data. They track exactly how many people watch a show, how long they watch, and whether they return for another episode. And apparently, the numbers for the Sussex projects did not meet expectations. Some programs reportedly ranked extremely low across the platform's global catalog. Executives who initially supported the partnership began losing confidence. Meetings were canceled, development slowed, marketing support quietly disappeared. And according to insiders quoted by Bauer, Netflix gradually stopped pursuing new projects.
I'm hearing that they have huge financial problems. That they are eating into capital, and that they sort of to an extent been for much of their marriage into some capital, and also he doesn't have that amount of money. People seem to think that because he's the king's son, he's rolling in money. He never was. I mean, in terms of Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, he's poverty stricken, but they have financial problems. And a part of those financial problems are that Netflix is not funding the manufacture of the produce. The way Harry and Meghan presented the deal was that they would be partners with Netflix.
With the couple. No dramatic public breakup, no explosive headlines, just silence. In the entertainment industry, there's a term for that: ghosting. Slow, quiet disengagement. The kind where contracts remain technically active, but nothing meaningful ever moves forward. Without Netflix momentum, the ripple effects spread quickly. Other business partnerships became cautious, investors hesitated, and the Sussex brand began losing some of the prestige it once carried. Meanwhile, Harry's legal battles in London continued to generate headlines: courtroom appearances, lawsuits against newspapers, and emotional testimony about media intrusion. In one particularly striking moment, Harry became visibly emotional during court proceedings, describing how the press had impacted.
The hope was that Netflix would fund, and the fact is that Netflix's funding was very limited for the first line of what was never produced, and because they were not prepared to put up good money on something that was so highly speculative. And the proof of the pudding, Dan, is in the eating of the figures, because according to Meghan, the line was sold out within 45 minutes. That tells you that the produce was in the low thousands. Several years ago, Arnold Scarcey, the great American, Canadian couturier, put me in touch with QVC to do a jewelry line. And I spoke to the head of QVC about
his wife's life, but critics pointed out something unusual. The case being discussed involved events from years before Meghan even entered Harry's life, yet she remained central to the narrative. For supporters, it reinforced the couple's story of media persecution. For critics, it reinforced the idea that their public identity has become inseparable from controversy. Either way, the optics were complicated, because while Harry fought legal battles in London, Meghan continued building her lifestyle brand in California, two completely different narratives unfolding at the same time. And through it all, the financial pressure continued to grow. Tom Bauer estimates that maintaining the Montecito lifestyle, security, staff, travel, property maintenance could require hundreds of millions of dollars over time. Harry's personal net worth is estimated somewhere between $35 and $40 million. That's still enormous wealth by normal standards, but in the world of global celebrities, tech billionaires, and entertainment moguls, it's relatively...
Never believed that my life is open season to be commercialized by these people. To act in the public interest is to interest the public. I fundamentally reject that. Having my life, like others, commercialized in this way since I was a teenager, delving into every aspect of my private life, listening to calls, blagging flights so they could see where I was going. It was a time when everyone was in competition with each other.
Modest. Without consistent major revenue streams, maintaining that level of spending becomes extremely difficult. Spotify ended their deal, Netflix appears to be stepping back, and commercial ventures like As Ever are facing uncertain demand, which leads to the uncomfortable question many observers are now asking: what happens next? Tom Bauer believes the current moment is one of the most unpredictable phases in the Sussex story, because desperation often leads to dramatic decisions: new interviews, tell-all books, speaking tours, media deals built around royal connections, and each one risks further tension with the British monarchy. According to Bauer, the royal family's greatest concern is not criticism, it's unpredictability. A couple operating independently across the Atlantic, with global media attention and financial pressure building behind the scenes. That combination can create explosive situations. But there may be an even deeper lesson hidden in this story, because Meghan Markle's journey since leaving the royal family...
Money is officially drying up for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. As more and more news of the dissolution of Archwell Foundation comes forward, it's very, very clear that this restructuring is due to a lack of one very, very key thing, which is money. In fact, Harry and Meghan sold themselves to a dinner table at $100,000 a pop to raise money for Archwell.
Do you think the problem with Meghan is that she never actually says anything in interviews? It is so carefully controlled, so carefully chosen what she's going to say, that she says really pretty well nothing. Now, is it because she's got nothing to say, or is it because she is fearful that if she did move off the benign script, she would actually get into real trouble? I think it's the latter. She is clever enough to know that to retain her mystery and status, she should reveal nothing about herself.
Family has been one of the most ambitious reinventions in modern celebrity culture. She walked away from one of the oldest institutions in the world, signed massive media deals, celebrity culture. Brands. She walked away from one of the oldest institutions in the world. It was unprecedented. Massive media deals, launched brands, unstoppable. Built a global personal platform. Investigation suggests something was very unprecedented. He argues that ambition alone isn't enough, but Tom Bauer's investigation suggests something very different. And above all, that ambition alone isn't viewers can connect with. You need audience trust. Those elements, you need even consistent, the most powerful brand and can above all, quickly. You need authenticity that viewers can connect with. You cannot build a lasting empire on hype alone. Powerful brand eventually, the audience stops watching. As Tom Bauer once put it, anger, you cannot build a lasting empire on hype alone. Eventually, the audience is far more dangerous than controversy. Out of anger, because when the public stops caring, but the spotlight disappears. And indifference is far more dangerous than controversy, because when the public stops caring, the spotlight disappears.
Oh, absolutely. And this is the risk to the British monarchy. There's no doubt as they become more a huge risk, financially and reputationally, because seeking a purpose. There's no doubt as they become more desperate. Financially, whatever reputationally, and seeking a purpose, they will double the problem. They will do some very because they will not be controllable. Whatever Andrew has done, I do think they will double the problem because they will not be controllable. Do have this problem. So I do think that
come to
after Andrew,
as Lady
Charles and William
Campbell
do have this problem.
Meghan Markle's lifestyle business. Now, Britain, you have been on this right from the start. As Lady Colin Campbell has christened Meghan Markle's lifestyle business. Now, Britain, you have been on
right
this.
Now, the Sussex story sits at a crossroads. A charity facing financial questions, a lifestyle brand struggling to sustain momentum, and a major streaming partnership quietly cooling off, and a couple who once promised to reshape the future of media and philanthropy. Whether this moment becomes a Right now, the Sussex story sits at a crossroads, a charity facing financial questions, a lifestyle brand struggling to sustain one of the most dramatic royal stories of the modern era, quietly cooling off. If Tom Bauer's predictions continue to prove accurate, reshape the future of media and philanthropy in the Meghan and Harry saga, this moment becomes a comeback or the beginning of a long decline. Is this truly the collapse of the Sussex empire, or just another chapter in numbers, the investigations, and the decisions made in the next few years will determine the final chapter of one of the most dramatic royal stories of the modern era. And if Tom Bauer's predictions continue to prove accurate, the most surprising twists in the Meghan and Harry saga may still be ahead. So what do you think? Is this truly the collapse of the Sussex empire, or just another chapter in